Well, good morning, good afternoon here. This is the Psy American. Just wanted to give a little quick video face-to-face update just to keep things moving along here. I know I haven't updated this with a video in a while. Currently, I'm back in Colorado in the US to see off the closure of the new year, or see off the closure of the old year and welcome in the new year. Was recently in Asia. I went back to Thailand for I guess it's the third time this year, third or second time. I lose track after so often. These last few years, I had to go back several times, for work and just to maintain my life over there, my income, of course, and my assets over there. And I was also in India in November for the 2025 Asian Seed Congress as part of my work. And that was really nice to go to Mumbai. But I did get a chance after work was done to kind of explore the city a little bit, as well as visit some 2,000-year-old Buddhist caves just north of the city of Mumbai as part of a national park there. So definitely recommended for anybody who gets a chance to go to India to see that. Not only that, I think people in Asia in general and the world over should at least one time in their life, if they haven't already, visit India. And I don't mean, just go stay in shopping malls and hotels, but actually see the real India, the urban parts, the rural parts, how they live there. It's a very humbling experience to see that, especially in the crowded areas, and how you have so many different types of people, like in Mumbai. When we were in the city there, we were in an area that there was a lot of Muslims, a lot of Hindus, and various types of people just living there together in a very, very tight space. And you gotta wonder, like, how do they do that? They obviously do it. So other things I've been up to back here in the States, just trying to get reoriented, with my vehicle projects ahead with my van. Got a few mods I'm going to be working on here in the near future. Let's see, drum brakes I've got to do. I did the disc brakes in the front before, and also when I was putting new tires on it, just so I have better traction for the winter here. The lug nut got broken off at the tire center where they couldn't get it off with the gun, so I manually pulled out the iron bar, broke off the lug nut, but I have to remove the drums on the brakes to get to the lug nut anyway, so it's all part of that. I got a few mods, like I'm putting a new radiator on there, a new aluminum radiator with a electric fan, so I'm going to do that update or mod, just because, the main reason is, the fan clutch, the mechanical fan clutch that's on there with the fan shroud, it's pretty big, and I'm pretty sure that I'm losing some of my horsepower with it. And I only say this, a lot of people on forums, they'll tell you the same thing. Obviously, racing mods, they'll change out the fan clutch for an electric fan that's actuated by a little thermostat switch when it gets up to temp. But other than that, I know when I had when I had done some front end work on the van before, and water pump and new heater hoses and all that, and I remember putting it all back together before installing the fan clutch, taking it for a test ride, and I did notice a noticeable difference. I did notice a noticeable difference of the power that the vehicle, the V6, seemed to have without the fan clutch there. And so obviously putting electrical fan clutch is going to be a little bit, but it's a much lighter weight, and with not having the fan shroud there also makes it easier to access the front end if I ever need to service it. And also I'm going to put a few more aftermarket gauges there. I have a tachometer and a transmission fluid temperature sensor already, but they're just kind of like fixed to my steering wheel. So I've got a, what do you call it, a gauge pod, a column gauge pod, where I can put them really nicely on it's next to my window. So I'll make things a little bit more cleaner and nicer to monitor that. And I'm also going to add a field pressure gauge too, just because it's one of those things that I think would give me a little bit more reassurance of more things to monitor, especially since I had a breakdown a few months back with bad fuel in the system, and obviously related to the fuel pump. Changed out the fuel pump, and currently I've got my actually stock fuel pump there that I've cleaned out all the lines of all the gunk from putting basically ethanol rich fuel in the system. And it just, I guess it cleaned a lot of the gummed up stuff in the fuel tank and fuel lines, and caused me to have a breakdown, which I had to get a tow and obviously drain my gas tank and clear it all out. But I think in the future, rather than, because the Dodge format, sorry, the van format is you have to remove your doghouse in order to get to the fuel rail and see what's going on in there. And so it's not always ideal. It's not like a truck where you can just pop open the hood, plug in a gauge. And so I've got a fuel gauge, basic fuel pressure gauge that will at least let me know that if I ever have any issues with the fuel lines, I'll see pretty quickly. Or if there's a fuel leak, that's another thing that's also concerning when you have under that doghouse, if the fuel rail ever leaks and you get, it's a fire hazard. And so one of the first indicators of something like that would be your fuel pressure. So having that fuel gauge will be a little bit extra assurance to monitor that. So yeah, those are some vehicle projects coming up. As far as Thailand, have to put it on hold, put the brakes on for now as far as my land and my farm there, just because, Maslow's pyramid, I'm at the bottom of it. Got to get things, paid off and just get the income rolling in through various means. I've been dabbling again in the stock market, not just like traditional type investing where like picking a stock, holding it and going long, but actually trying and learning about new trading strategies, especially options trading. And it's been a nice learning curve up here to learn about how that works, how you can basically profit or lose, as many people do, from different directions in the market. It's not only going up and long on stocks that you're positive on, or securities in general, including ETFs, but you can also profit the other way. If you see indicators that suggest a certain security or stock is going the other way, in the short or medium term, you can actually profit off that without margin trading. That's where you get really risky, when you start leveraging and borrowing in order to make a bet, a gamble essentially, on the direction of a security. So it's been interesting to learn about that, and not only just because I want to look at numbers and I want to profit overnight, but also going into that, if you do your research properly, and I really like that. I'm a numbers guy, looking at economics, as you can really understand the overall macro factors and fundamentals that influence the price of a security or a stock. And so I like coming from an editorial background. Obviously, I like having a pulse on what's going on in the greater economy and international arena and industry in general. So a lot goes into that, whether you're talking about the tech boom, AI, and all of the different industrial metals that go into that. That's obviously a lot of people who've been monitoring that have been watching how silver and gold specifically, and even copper, have just surged at the end of the year. And there's a lot of factors behind that, including industrial demand, among other things. And of course, geopolitics is also a factor. And there's no one answer of why something does it, but there's a multitude of factors. And just trying to study and understand that alone is worth the effort, whether or not I'll make money or grow my portfolio, which I think is inevitable once you actually understand these factors and you're able to be a disciplined trader or investor, for that matter, about how to profit on directions of the market based on these factors. So that's been an interesting use of my time, short of actually getting another part-time supplemental income, which I'm eyeing in the future as well. I still have my work going over on in Asia, but cost of living in North America or in the world in general is going up, full stop. Whether or not you want to believe the core CPI and inflation rate, which takes into account certain things, but gives weight to some things more than it should for others, in my opinion. For example, like, when you're living, really your cost of living in terms of food and fuel is really the core of it. Fuel is a lot regulated, so it's not drastically jumping now these days, but food has been on the up ever since. And I don't think the official CPI and inflation rate takes those into account, not only in the North America, but in Asia as well. They obviously report numbers like, oh, the cost of living's gone up according to CPI. Inflation is only 1 or 2%. In reality, your food, your grocery bill, or your eating out bill has gone up by 2-3 fold in some certain context. So there's that. But anyway, I won't bore you with all these specifics. This was just a quick little update to keep things moving along here. I hope in the future I can share with you more highlights from some of the past several months and year of all the stuff I've been up to. And of course, I'll try to film some of those vehicle projects and mods that I mentioned earlier, just so they can be of benefit to other people who are in similar mindsets or situations where they want to do similar mods for the same reasonings I mentioned here. And with that, I'll let y'all go, and I'll get back to making breakfast for the kiddo. So we'll see you later. Oh, that was another thing. Cooking, yeah. There's a lot of cooking, more and more cooking and stuff that I would like to share with you as well. Different stuff, exploring about how to do buttermilk fried chicken, for example. Hot sauce, chili pepper sauce, that kind of stuff. Basic things that I'd like to share with you in the near future. But anyway, until then, take it easy. Bye-bye now.